ladies. I just wanted to create this video so that you guys could watch how I would edit this photo since it was brought up with sky replacement. I'm going to do it in two different programs, and so feel free to put me on fast forward to get to the program that you want. I'm going to start off in what I did with Lightroom, then I'm going to go into Luminar, and then I'm going to go into Photoshop and show you what I would do in each of these programs. So to start off, this is the photo that she sent me originally, a beautiful family. And so this is a JPEG that she sent me, and I have a program to change it to a DNG to give me a little bit more control and to be able to edit it in Lightroom. And so once I did that, this is what I came up with. Let's see, here's what I came up with for the edit in Lightroom. And just to quickly show you what that looks like, I up the temperature and the tint, the exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks, and then the dehaze and vibrance. But then I also came down to HSL, and I brought up the luminance on the reds and oranges. And this is especially for their skin. So if you zoom in and I turn this off, you can see what it does to their skin. I just wanted to bring that up a little bit. So sometimes when you have darker shadows like this, darker skin in the shadows, you can bring up the luminance with, and it doesn't look as fake. So you just have to do it a little bit, and that's under HSL color. But a lot of you already use Lightroom, so I'm sure you know how to do that. So this is my starting point, and the first thing I'm going to do is take it into Luminar. So I'm going to edit in and then edit in Luminar. So I have it open down here. And just so you guys know, Luminar is coming out with a new version. This is Luminar 4, and this is actually a trial version that's on my computer, but they are coming out with Luminar AI for artificial intelligence. But I wanted to show you how powerful this program is for sky replacements, and one of the reasons why I love it. And so Luminar AI is coming out December 15th, 2020. And if you guys want a, there's some coupons and stuff I'll put in the description, and a link for you guys to be able to use to get that and to take advantage of those coupons for you. But Luminar is a great program, and it can be standalone or a plugin like I'm using it now. So it pulls in, and when it first comes up, it usually has these looks up here, and this is just like presets in Lightroom and just different things that you can, it tries to think for you, okay, how do you want to adjust this photo? I never use that because I can do that in Lightroom. But what I can't do in Lightroom is a good sky replacement. So if you come over here to this creative button and you click here, I'm going to go to AI sky replacement. They have several skies that you can choose from already. They also sell sky packs. And so these are just really cool stuff and it'll automatically like, oh, that's really cool. And dramatic sky too, like just a bunch of really cool stuff. For this example, I'm going to do dramatic sunset number 4. And the issue with this sunset is that the sun is coming from the wrong direction. Because if you look at this photo, you can tell by their hair that the light is actually coming from somewhere on this side of the frame, whether it's behind them or above. There's still a light direction to this photograph. Like her face is lighter over here than in the shadows. I know a lot of you know this, but for those of you who are still learning lighting, there's always a direction to light even when there are clouds. So in this example, I need to hit advanced settings and go to flip sky so that the sun is now coming more from this direction. And this right here is great, except that it doesn't blend very well and it still doesn't look right. So the horizon positioning, this slider actually, like, it raises the sky in the sky and it brings it down into the sand, which obviously isn't really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise it just a little bit. And then in the horizon blending, this is really key because this in Luminar is really what blends it in with more of, fades it out a little bit. And then I'm going to go to atmospheric haze, and I'm also going to add that as well, and that will soften, like that's if it's all the way. So you guys see, like, that is really dark up here and it doesn't really match the scene. So if I add the atmospheric haze, that's a lot better. And then I'm going to warm it up just a tad. And then you can also do sky exposure if you want, you know, bring it down up. So this is, I'll brighten it just a little bit. Maybe like a 7. And then you can see the before and after. So before and after, before and after. And then the really cool thing about what this does is there is a Relight scene slider. And so it takes whatever colors are in the sky, even if you upload your own sky, and it tries to determine, okay, what colors do I want? Like, what colors should be in this? Which is a really, really cool effect, because let's say I had a pinkish sky up here, it would relight this scene so that in the highlights and shadows, it would be more pink. So what I want to do is just bring it just a little bit, you know, just to help it match. I think it was at 20 originally, so I'm going to do that. The other thing is if you look in here, let me zoom in. When you use one of their skies, it does a really good job of the mask. But if you want to even adjust it around them, and I am going to do that. Let me go to fit screen. I'm going to go to edit mask, and they have a brush so you can actually brush out some things. But I'm going to go to gradient mask here. And just like in, let me turn it on, just like in Lightroom, where you have the gradient sliders. I'm going to do this. And for those of you who don't know how this works, all of this means that none of the mask past this line, this is 100%, there's no opacity at all. Like, the mask isn't applied. From here to here, it gradually goes from 100 to 50. From here to here, it goes from 50 to 100, and then 100% applied. So, and this is the same when you use a gradient filter in Lightroom. So I'm going to show you how this works. If I put this right here, I turn this on or off. If I drag this bar up, it's going to do the same thing. Like, it just fades it out even more out into the distant, and just makes it look even more realistic. So that's before I did any of this, and that's after. So that's just that mask. And you can see here that to this point, it goes from here to here. It's just a very gradual gradient. It's a really easy way to do it. And so I'm going to click on edit mask again. And so it's just even more so, just a great blend. I really like this particular one. So when I say apply, it's going to come back over into Lightroom. And this is the one I did earlier, and I think I even, when I was preparing to do this video, this is the one I did earlier, and I think the one that's coming in now I'm actually going to like better. Yes, so these are the two. This is the one I did before the video, and here's the one after, and it's really just up to you which one you like better. Of course, I didn't mess with the sea at all, but this is what you can do with Luminar. You can even upload your own skies into Luminar, so you don't have to use theirs, and the Relight scene will take the color from the sky, even your own sky, and do that. But what I would like to do is, this is the one I did in Photoshop. And so for those of you who don't want like a one-click type response, and you like working with Photoshop and the layers, I'm going to show you how to do that. So I already have it opened here in Photoshop. This is the one I did in all the layers, but I wanted to start from scratch to show you how I got to this final result. So here I'm going to say, and this is the one with the Lightroom adjustments. This is the original. This is with the Lightroom adjustments. And so I'm going to click here. I'm going to say edit in Adobe Photoshop. And here it comes, and there it is. And it usually asks with or without Lightroom edits, but all right, very first thing I do is I click on the background and Command or Control J to duplicate it, or you can right click and just hit duplicate layer. So I'm going to leave this layer locked and not touch it, and here is the layer I'm going to work with. The very first thing excuse me, after I copy the background is I'm going to select this subject. And Photoshop CC has gotten really good with this. If you go to select and say subject, it does a really good job. And if I hit Control plus or Command plus on a Mac, I can zoom in and see it does a pretty good job. Now it's not going to get all these little itty bitty hairs, but I'm not worried about that. But it got in between her here, even though that's not the sky. I'm not worried about their feet because I just really want a good, you know, rough cutout of them. And with them selected, I'm going to hit Command or Control J so that it makes a copy of just them. So you can see that, and you can see it does a really good job. And I'm just going to name this family. Turn these back on, Control minus or Command minus to zoom back out. So I have the family, I have my layer one, my background that I'm not going to touch. Now I have an Adobe stock image of a sky. You can get these from, all kind of free stock websites, online, common use photos. You can get skies anywhere, but I just happen to use Adobe stock because we have a subscription. So I went on Adobe and found a sky that was lighter at the bottom because I knew that that would blend better, and it has more interesting details at the top. So I'm going to take this, and I just drug this down from this main bar, and with my move tool selected, I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to drag it in, and it says it has a different depth sort. That just basically means that the colors are a little bit different. That's okay because it's a sky. I'm not too worried about it. So here's my sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly place it where I want it. Let's see. Make sure my light direction is the same, which it is. So I'm going to put it about right here. A trick for you guys is if you go right here when you have your sky, if you have a pretty much white sky right here, it's completely white, and you put the sky that you want to replace in there, if you click here and go to darken, it will take what it sees as white and see, notice like their faces. Darken is awesome. It's really cool. Now, if you look at his shirt right there, anything that's white, it's going to automatically like, okay, this is what we're going to apply the filter to. So obviously we have some issues here, but I'm going to match it right where I want it. And so I have it on darken. And then here's my family. I'm just going to move that layer up. So now if I were to move my sky, it's not affecting his shirt anymore because now they're in front of this. Let's see. I'm actually going to, if I Command T or Control T, I'm actually going to change the size of this so that I can bring it in here. And when you're done changing the size of anything, if you hit this check mark or the key, the enter key on the right hand side. So that is pretty good. Now obviously we have to deal with this line. I have the family in front so that it would not be in his shirt or her dress or anything like that. I really like the lighting, but now we got to deal with this line. So I would click on the layer that I'm dealing with, and I am going to select a add a layer mask, and it automatically adds a white layer mask. And what masks do is they mask out things out of the picture. So on a mask, you paint with black and white. So let me take my paintbrush over here. And for those of you that don't know Photoshop, if you click on your paintbrush and see this black means to block, white means to show, and it only works on the layer it's on. So I'm on black right now, and if I paint, I'm not painting black. Like it's not actually showing up black because I'm on the mask. If you see the mask, you can see those black areas. Let me go like this so that you can really see. See how it did those X's right there? So, and if I change back to white, it will paint it back in. So this is how you can work on Photoshop non-destructively. So instead of redoing all that, I'm just going to delete this layer mask and start over and hit mask again. Now, I need a gradient tool, and if it's not going to be there by default, I think it's a paint bucket. So you can right click and then choose your gradient tool, and this is like the gradients in Lightroom. So you click somewhere and then you just drag, and I'm going to drag up and see what it did. It's blocking the black's on top and the white is on the bottom. And if I go this way, it does it the other way. White's on top and black is on the bottom. And that's because white is my foreground color. If I switch these two, it'll do it the other way. White's on top, black's on the bottom. So what I would like to do is I'm just going to drag up, and if I go little, it does a little bit. If I go a lot, it's going to knock out the whole thing. If I go like this, that's a very, the longer the line is, the more gradual the fade is. The shorter the line is, the shorter the fade is. So I think I'm going to, so you can see here. And if I go this way, it does the fade that way. If I go this way, it does the fade that way. I think you can see the line. So what I'm trying to do is fade out this background here. So let me move again. I'm going to Control T and just stretch this sky up a little bit. There we go. Then I'm get my gradient tool and just fade it. Whoop. Oh, now I'll tell you why I did that. My foreground and background color are here, and I was on the actual picture itself of the sky. I wasn't on the mask. So I'm going to undo that and click on the mask. And now I'm going to see if I can't fade this out. I'm going to, if I hit and hold the shift, it will only do the top. So let me I want something that's a little, there we go. And okay, my gradient, sorry guys. Just do it like this. All right, so I've faded into this sky. This isn't necessarily the best sky for this, but is it the sky I chose? No, I actually have a different sky. No wonder why it doesn't look right. I tried working with this sky before, so let me open the actual sky I'm going to use because I don't like that sky. It's this one. No wonder why I couldn't get it to look right. I was wondering, like, why doesn't this look right? So I tried a different sky. It's really important that you find a sky that you like. That other sky was the wrong sky. So let me get rid of this layer. I'm going to delete it. Now, let me put it, whoops, I moved the family. I'm on auto. So what happened is I am on Move Tool, and I was on Auto Select here. Or I was on the wrong layer. So I want to be on the sky layer and move this. Here's my sky. No wonder. I was like, why isn't this working right? This does not look right. It's because I had the wrong sky. Oh, guys. Truly. Okay, so there's our sky. So I'm going to say enter. Now I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to hit this mask tool, and I'm going to go over to gradient. You guys are going to know gradients really well. Let me fade it a little bit more. Let's see, a little bit more. Oh, oh. Black, white. That looks pretty good. It's pretty close. I feel like it needs, there we go. There we go. So you see what I did? It's blocking, all of this means that part of that particular layer is black. You can't see it. It's blocking it out, but it's showing the white, and there's a gradual. So if I disable it, you can see what it did. And I'll re-enable it so you can see. Okay, so I really like this look, but these clouds, if you go in here, this background, it does have some detail, but these clouds are super detailed in here. So what I need to do with this layer is I need to add a blur to it. And to do that, I'm going to go to Filter, and then I'm going to say Convert for Smart Filters. And what that does is typically in Lightroom, if you add a blur, you can't go back and change it. You just have to start all over again, create a new layer and all that. But when you make it a smart filter, it means that you can add a blur, and then if you don't like the results, you can always go back and change the blur. So it's thinking, it's thinking. All right, see this little icon right here? That little icon means that it's a smart filter. So now that this layer is a smart filter, I'm going to go up to filter. This is the last thing I used, but it's under blur, Gaussian blur. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's say I say 80 pixels. Okay, that sky is, you can't see those clouds at all. If I were to say okay, that is married in. If you don't have a smart filter, you can't change it. It's baked in. So let me say okay. It bakes it in. But since I have it down here under smart filter, if I click on it, it brings that back up and I can change this back. So I think I'm going to do about a 5 pixel blur. So this is blurred in the background. The sky is blurred, which matches more the depth of field of what was going on. Okay. So now I have the people in the sky, and I really like the color of this sky to match this photograph. But let's say that they were still really blue and it wasn't going to match the color of this photograph. Then what I could do is, the next thing I would do is go to the top and click on adjustment layer, and I'm going to do solid color, and just to let you see what this does. Let's say that I pick this blue color right here, and I'm going to say okay. It's at the very top, which means it's going to affect everything below it because this mask is white. I'm going to go to blend, and I'm actually going to say screen. Some people use overlay, which you could do that too, or soft light. And so here's soft light, and this is blue, and then you turn the opacity like down to 25%, and it just matches. So let's say if I click on this and make this orange, you see how it changes the overall color of the picture. Here's teal. Here, let me do green, so you can, like, that's really green. There's red. Pink. So what it does is it takes all the layers underneath it, and it's going to apply this color. So this is how you can help match colors. So I really like this color or this color for the photograph, depending on what your editing style is. But this is a really soft, light, pastel, peachy kind of color. And so right now I have it on soft light, and you can, guys, just go through here. You can see what all the different blend modes do. Okay. A lot of times I'll use lighten, but or overlay, I'll use overlay a lot, but I'll just do soft light for right now. This is hard light, just makes it a little bit stronger. So I'll do soft light, and it kind of washed them out a little bit. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, and I'm going to go to curves adjustment. And if you've never used curves, there are several tutorials on YouTube about it, but down here, this deals with all your darks. These are your midtones, and then these are your highlights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in the middle, and if I take this up, it takes my midtones way up, or it brings them down. So what I want to do is bring my midtones up just a little bit. Then I'm going to come down here toward the darks and see how I'm just increasing the contrast. You just need a little bit, and what they call it is the S curve. So you can bring, some people go this way, where they bring the midtones down and the highlights up. And that's the after. Here's the before. It's ever so slight, but see how it just gives it a little bit of punchiness. And if you want them a little bit darker, you can do that. So there's that. Here's without that color matching. So you can see like their skin's a little blue here because it's in the shadows. And then this is a really warm sunset. But by adding this overlay on soft light, it really just marries everything together. So this image is done. So then what I would do is I would just click this and hit save. So let's go compare it with the other one that I did. So we'll go to Lightroom, and now it's coming in. It's got to think, right? Yeah, let's see, it's thinking. Here it comes. Okay, so here's the one, and here's this one. Okay, so here's the one I just did, and here's the one I did before. And they're very, very similar. You can see this one's a little bit warmer than this one. It really just depends on what you like. But that is how I would do it in Lightroom. And as you can see, Luminar was much, much faster. But this is what we started off with. Let me hide all these screens. This is what we started off with. This was my Lightroom adjustment that I did. This is a Photoshop image that I did. And this is the Luminar image that I did. Now, I could take this sky and also do that in Luminar as well. So I hope that that helps. I know that there are a lot of Photoshop experts in here. I don't claim to be a Photoshop expert. So if there's a different way that you would do it that you prefer, please share that in the comments. Check out Luminar if you are really into sky replacements, but you don't want to do all the Photoshop and the color matching and all that. Luminar makes it super easy. I'll put that in the comments with the link, and that's going on sale on December 15th as well. So look for that sale, and just let me know if you guys have any questions. And thanks. Bye.